Hey, Bula! Yes, on today's episode we're going to be talking about how I got welcomed into a Fijian tribe and totally by myself without the use of tours or guides, plus some other cool stories that are worth mentioning as well. Now, when I was travelling in Asia, I really pushed my time trying to enjoy all that was in Asia. So once I arrived into Singapore going to Australia, I overshot my entry date by 2 days. You can't predict the overland travel in Asia. So I was made to leave and then reapply. So I looked at my options. There's New Zealand, which I've heard some great things about, by all means, but I am a tropical man at heart. I love the sun, so it had to be Fiji. So as I arrived into Fiji airport, the locals were there with their guitars, they were singing, they put flowers on me. It was the coolest, nicest arrival. It was so much better than landing at Luton Airport, that's for sure. But all the tourists would normally go for the paradisical islands of the Yasawas straight away. They're beautiful by all means. But in the guidebook, I had read about what you can see and what you can witness in the main Fijian island. So I had other plans in mind. So I made my way to Lautoka, which has still got remnants of the sugarcane railway from during the British rule, which is still Fijian's biggest export today. Right, so I have here the almighty Scrapbook. Now I bet you were wondering when this was going to come out. And when I go to a different country, I always write down buzzwords in the local language. This way I can kind of communicate in the hope to put a smile on their face as well, really throw them back. So here's an example that I use when I'm going past a restaurant and they're trying to haggle for my kind of money. I would say, I'm full, simply. Sitawa nekatanga in Fijian I have written here. So normally that would kind of throw them back. It's like, oh, okay. So it's a really useful tool to have. Now with this in hand, I went to the local market. I approached this Fijian lady and I told her in the best Fijian that I could possibly muster that I have in here, how do I get to the Mbatha village, which is the local village close by? And with that she beamed, she got ecstatic, she goes, oh my god, I'm from the village. So she got this piece of paper, scribbled down loads of Fijian and then handed it to me. She goes, look, just give it to a local when you arrive at my village and we'll sort it out for you. Like, okay, great. So yeah, at the bus station, I managed to arrange for a pickup truck to take me over there, which was very moderately priced when you kind of go straight to the source. So with my note in hand, I gave it to a local kid and she wasn't lying. I got housed up in this beautiful little hut for around $30 to $40 a day. I know for a lot of backpackers that could sound like quite a lot, but do remember that that's all I had to pay. Everything else was just me to experience all that was had to be had in the village. Mary and her family took me in and looked after me on a daily basis, which is really cool. They're the sweetest bunch. So for my first taste of local life in the village, the kids would take me to the nearby river every morning, and this is where they'd bathe, which was totally cool. But I really wish I had my waterproof camera, because what happened on the second day was really bizarre. As we were bathing, there lined up on the ridge was a line of kids from the nearby village, and they started pelting mangoes at us. And then the kids around me started scrambling and pick up all the mangoes up. I'm in the middle of a mango fight. Right? And these are delicious, ripe mangoes, my favourite fruit. So there's me eating one and then throwing the others at the same time. It's probably the most bonkers, random scenario I've ever been in, but at the same time it's the coolest memory I'll ever have. It's not an experience that you'll get with a tour guide, that's for sure. Now, when you do get welcomed into a village, to make it absolutely official, guaranteed to be going through a service ceremony. But luckily, in the guidebook, I did read that you have to give a gift to the chief. So in preparation for this, I bought him a sulu, a Fijian skirt. Like all the men are wearing, all the ladies, all the men are wearing it. Even the policemen are wearing man skirts. It's great. Like they got office skirts as well, where you can put your hand in the pockets. So it's really down to earth. Into local villages, it always pays to have a bag of sweets for the kids. This is one way of kind of showing your appreciation, and then they'll love you for it. But the main event in one of these service ceremonies is kava, which comes from a plant, a kava plant. The root is grounded and the water is sifted through to produce this kind of muddy looking water. It tastes like muddy water. If you drink it in, say, small quantities, it's meant to be pretty good for you, but the Fijians can drink. After a while, it gives you a furry tongue, makes you feel super mellow, but the very next day, it makes you feel like you've been hit by a train. I mean, throughout my stay in Fiji, I went to 4 villages, and I had to drink the stuff every time. When you want to go to a place that requires you to get off the beaten track for just a little bit, it really does pay to give yourself that extra time. I mean, just to get there in the first place, because travel in different countries can be very unpredictable. But also to give yourself that extra time just so you can take in life, absorb all the kind of experiences that you're going to get from it. And that's what I did. I did a full day's hike around the village, taking in kind of the waterfalls, all the nature of it. It is beautiful. And this isn't something that I read, this is something that a local had recommended that I do. It was beautiful. I had got on so well with Mary and the family that she invited me to a Fijian wedding that was going to happen on the other side of Fiji. A tribal wedding. I mean, how cool is that? What an honor. So when I looked at the map, this gave me a solid month of traveling around Fiji before the wedding even begins. So I'm not going to argue with that. Brilliant. So I accepted, and eventually I left, which wasn't the saddest thing because I knew I'd be seeing them very soon. Pretty much, whichever country you go to, local transport is the best way of experiencing local life. I was travelling on a local bus across the north of Fiji with no windows, but that didn't really matter because it was so warm over there anyway. And I was sitting next to this Indo-Fijian who was asking me the usual questions like, where are you from? Where are you going? Oh no, wait, you're not going to Raki Raki? Oh, you must visit. It's so beautiful. Please come. And there you go. So just like that, I got invited to her home. It was a really beautiful, down-to-earth kind of rural place. The kids showed me around the animals that they had, the kind of surrounding areas. They were cooking food for me on a proper fire, and the entertainment that night was spot on as well. I'd like to give a shout out to Subi and Joelle, 2 great Fijians I've had the pleasure of meeting and I'm still in contact with today. So cheers! Hopefully you're watching. Next time I mention Fiji, I'll go into a bit more detail about that tribal wedding, plus a hidden gem called Garden Island, so do tune in. I hope you've enjoyed this episode though. I plan to do more though, talking about all the experiences that you can gain when you truly do go off the beaten track. Some truly astounding memories, but some hairy, dangerous moments as well. It does happen. So do subscribe and share to anybody who plans to go backpacking, who's interested in backpacking, or just wants to get some tips along the way. So until then, Vinaka, Mote, thank you and goodbye. You're coming with me. Pick up all the mangoes up. I mean, I'm in the middle of a mango fight. Serious.